It's Wulf, and it's another First 15. This one is Freeman Guerrilla Warfare. This was sent to me by KK Game Studio through Keymailer. This is one that I requested a while ago. This is a game that I remember seeing a long time ago. I was on Steam one day, and I was looking at that queue thing that it does where it'll line up about 10 games, and you kind of go through them, and you can put them on your wish list or mark them as not interested. And this is one of the games that popped up in my queue for me, and I think I put it on my wish list or something like that. I remember saving it somewhere or just remembering it or whatever, and then eventually on Keymailer I saw it was on there, requested a key, and then now they sent one to me. Before I actually start talking about the game though, I do want to mention that this game seems to possibly be in kind of an awkward part of development. This game has definitely been out for a while because I remember seeing it a long time ago, but when I downloaded it, when I entered my key in and downloaded it, on the library page there was a note about them kind of wanting to rework the entire game, so I don't know if they've already done that or if they're in the process of doing that and this is in the middle stages of it, or if it hasn't even started yet. When I booted up the game, there's two options for two different things to possibly load into, so I don't know if maybe one of those was the original and one of them is the newer version. I picked the thing that just sounded like the newest version of the game, so that's kind of just an important note that I wanted to mention here at the beginning. So this game actually ended up being almost exactly what I expected it to be. It's a game that attempts to combine two different genres, and it actually does it surprisingly well, I thought. It mixes a government war simulation style game, and the only example that I can really think of that comes to mind is the Civilization series. Even though I've never really played any of those games, this game looks like that game does at a lot of points, and it mixes that sort of management aspect of things with a first-person shooter, and more specifically, it kind of mixes it with almost a military first-person shooter like Arma or even DayZ, those type of games where you have to manage your inventory and stuff. And I think it does it really well because one of the things that sort of sucks sometimes with the government military simulation games is the fact that everything is usually based on probability and stuff like that. You don't always have a way to directly affect the outcome of battles. It's really just a lot of management stuff. Whereas in this game, since your character actually goes in and fights the battles alongside the troops you have, you can actually directly affect the outcome of those battles. And overall, the first-person shooter mechanics are actually pretty well done, so it's not one of those things where it's going to be unfair sort of. It's not a hard game to play. If you've played any other first-person shooter, you will be able to understand the controls and stuff. I think personally it reminded me the most of PUBG because that's the only other game I've really played that has any sort of inventory management like that. But yeah, I mean, when I was in battle, I didn't actually win any battles, but I felt the actual gameplay of those scenarios was pretty easy to understand and easy to play. Now, as for the management aspect of things, that also seems relatively easy to understand because it sort of seems like just clicking on different areas, and going to different towns and all the normal stuff you would expect from any sort of game like that. The only thing is, I did kind of find it a little bit hard to figure out what exactly you need to do to equip certain things and stuff like that. So the tutorial tells you to make a new squad or whatever towards the beginning of it, and I did, but then it occurred to me when I was in the battle that the squad I made seemed to just include one character without any weapons, so the tutorial never actually told me how to give my squad members weapons or anything like that. And then also at one point I went to heal one of my squad members, so I gave them food, but then when I wanted to heal myself, I couldn't figure out how to heal myself. Even outside of battle, I couldn't seem to get my character to eat food like I had gotten the squad member character to eat food, so I had no idea how to heal my own character, and that was why I kept losing battles later on, was because after the first battle, when I respawned in, my character only had 5 health and I didn't know how to heal him. So I think overall, my thoughts on this game are that it actually is pretty good. I thought it was pretty fun. I think the tutorial definitely could use some work to go more in depth with some stuff, although I mean, as it is, the tutorial already does go pretty in depth with a lot of things, but just sort of the smaller mechanics, unless maybe I just didn't get that far along into the tutorial. Also, I think the starting area could be better. I'm not sure if it's randomized where you start out or anything, but when I eventually got to the point in the tutorial where it told me to get into a battle, I was in an area where pretty much all of the possible groups for me to get into a battle with seemed way higher ranked than me, which is also part of the reason why I ended up failing all the battles I was in. I think that's another thing, that if a player chooses to do the tutorial, the game should definitely make sure to put them into an area with characters that are actually going to be fightable for a beginner player. But given that the game had that notice about the whole big redesign and everything, I think that a lot of this stuff is probably stuff that they already are aware of and already are working on. Overall, I liked this game. I think if you enjoy any sort of simulation management type games and also first-person shooters, you'll probably like this game as well. It's the type of thing that might look a little rough around the edges in the gameplay footage, but it's actually pretty well done. Also, speaking of the gameplay footage, the game was running fine on my computer. I think the footage might have some weird areas with slowdown. That was just because of the way I was recording this. The game didn't seem to have any weird, like, inherent bugs causing FPS to be low or anything like that. So yeah, overall, I had a pretty positive impression of this game, and I think that's about it for what I have to say. So here's the rest of the gameplay footage. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you in other videos.